Hello everyone. I'm going to deal with a few shotguns in my next few videos. If you watched my last video, it's been a little while ago that I did that. We were out testing the Champion automatic clay pigeon thrower, and I thought, well, it's a good time to show the two firearms that Mrs. Lothar and I were out shooting that day. We'll start with her shotgun. I'm working in a small room, so can't get a real good full view of these firearms, but I'll do my best to show them to you. Her firearm is this Mossberg Maverick 88 in 20 gauge that she was out shooting the clays with that day. They are all clear, and she chose this firearm because, well, two reasons. She wanted a pump action. She's a little hooked on pump actions, so she chose the pump action. And she didn't want to spend a lot of money to mail. She made sure she was something she wanted to try. And she's thinking about, in the next few months, of trading up to a semi-automatic, maybe a Benelli or something like that, a little higher end, because she's really enjoying the aspect of hunting birds and clay pigeon shooting. She really enjoyed shooting the clay pigeons, so we're gonna probably move her up eventually. But what can you say about a Mossberg Maverick 88? They just work. They're inexpensive. This was less than $200 to get into, as if you find them on sale, they can be. Can't even tell you how long the barrel is. I want to say, let me measure it out here real quick, and I'll tell you. Looks like it's about it's measuring out about 26 inches. So, great firearm for what it is. Low recoil. It's rattly, but it works. It just keeps on working. And great for what she's doing with it, learning how to shoot a little bit. And then we did have to do one improvement to it right off the bat, was these guns seem to be horrid for loosening up the chokes. We could not get more than a few rounds without it loosening up, so we went with a Carlson extended choke. Once the firearm is cleared, you can just reach up and test the choke for snugness. It makes it much easier to keep it tight. Supposedly these longer chokes will improve the pattern a little bit. It comes with just a standard flush mounted choke system. Just the Mossberg style chokes, I believe Wind choke. They're pretty universal in that style. So there it is. That's what she was out shooting. Just a run of the mill. I believe she played $199 Mossberg Maverick 88. So what was I shooting? I'm going to spend a little more time on what I was shooting. This is another introductory type gun. I got it laying right here. This is a Winchester SXP, the Super X pump. This is a trap version, though. This is probably a version you won't see that often in the wild, or maybe you have wondered about it. Its price points are quite a bit higher, surprisingly for an SXP. But let's look at what you get for that price. We're talking about a $700 Winchester SXP. So if that sounds like a lot, well, let's take a closer look at it. It's been cleared. Don't worry about me pointing it at you. Actually, I've got a snap cap in it. That's all that is just, I like these A-Zoom snap caps because they have a little weight to them. And it does have their very nice pump action that they have that actually releases and helps you chamber a new round when it goes off. It's nice, crisp, very low rattle, very nice tight fit. You can see right off the bat you get a wood stock. It's not a walnut stock. It's just a hardwood stock, and it does have a comb, a raised comb. It's parallel pretty much with the barrel. A nice recoil pad. You get a really nice recoil pad. This is a 32-inch barrel. You can see it's extremely long, so we continue on down. It has the a True Glow type sight, front sight on it, and then a mid bead on it. I'm not a big fan of mid beads. I don't normally even look at the sights. I shoot with both eyes open, instinctive shooter, and I find mid beads just kind of a more clutter on it. But it seems like that's the fad anymore, is these fiber optic style front sights. To me, they take your tension away from your target and makes it actually a little bit harder to get on target and get an instinctive shot off. So the some of the things I didn't like about the gun, I have to bring up that you're getting a lot for what you're getting at. You know, to get into a good trap gun or anything like that, you're probably looking in the neighborhood of $1,500 just to get into the introductory type guns that are good. Particularly, we're speaking of over-unders and single shots. That would be a real trap gun or a clay gun of some sort. So the first problem I had with it was within a few shots, this fiber optic sight loosened up, was just flopping around. It might have been that way out of the box and I just noticed it then, but I clean the guns up before I take them out. And so what I had to do, well, I was going to replace the sight because I really wanted to make this gun work for me. And I tried buying a replacement sight for it. The screw was boogered up on it. Couldn't reuse it, so I had to return it, and of course they didn't have another one in stock. So I ended up just bushing, or building a little bushing or a little washer to go underneath the mounting screw here, and it's nice and tight now, no movement at all, and it's worked well. So took a little bit of head scratching to get that little form on the screw. The hole in the sight was just too small to allow it to tighten down. No matter how far you would have went with it, would have eventually just pulled right through the sight, I suspect. That's the first thing that I noticed that I had a little problem with. I don't like a loose sight on my guns, even if I don't use them that much on the shotgun. The second thing I didn't like was the trigger. These triggers, let me see if I can get a little closer here. And I put a trigger pull gauge on this trigger, and it came out to about 11 pounds. Yeah, if that sounds like a lot, it is. That's a lot, especially for something you might use on a trap range. So let me pop my snap cap back in. Key to longevity I've discovered in these shotguns is always use a snap cap. So when I pull the trigger, we'll get it in here for you. Now I don't know if you can see this as I pull it back, but you can see it does not pull straight back. When it pulls back, if I can get out of the way here a little bit, it has a hinge upwards. The hinge on this trigger is located extremely far forward, nearly a full inch forward of the actual face of the trigger. So what that results in, when you pull straight back, you're pulling against the way the trigger wants to move, and it makes it appear like an exceptionally heavy trigger pull. When I moved my trigger gauge at a slight angle and pulled it at the angle that it wants to actually pivot at, that dropped to about 8 pounds. Now it's still fairly excessive, but it's doable in a shotgun where you're shooting a moving target anyway. You don't want a hair trigger on a shotgun, obviously, but 8 pounds is a little bit heavy, but it works. I was shooting probably 90% of the pigeons out of the sky with this thing on the first time out with it. It is a backboard barrel, or overboard, depending on your terminology you want to use. So it uses the plus type chokes. This gun, like all other guns at this price point, well, not all other, but a lot of them. I don't know if we can get a shot of the roll mark on it there, but it is made in Turkey. It seems like so many of these shotguns at this price point, this day and age, are made in Turkey. Good, seems like 3/4 of them at least. So even so, it says Winchester on it. Made in Istanbul, Turkey. Imported by BACO Incorporated, Morgan, Utah. And then, of course, Winchester is a registered trademark of the Olin Corporation, which is the Japanese company that currently owns the rights to Winchester. So is it a true Winchester? In as much as a Winchester can be a Winchester these days, yeah. It's a Japanese-owned, Turkish-made Winchester. So it's got the kind of a neat look to it, just like the other SXPs. And it's a good introduction, or even a field gun if you wanted to reach out with it. It is steel shot approved through the smaller chokes. Don't ever shoot steel shot through a larger choke. Wood to metal finish is fair. Alloy receiver with steel reinforcing points, and it works. Once I got through the hiccups in it that I thought it had, a good introduction. See if you like shooting clays, and if you like a longer barrel, definitely good way to go. I do prefer a longer barrel on my guns, so not a problem. I might point out also, wanted to point out, it does have a raised rib to force you to shoot a little bit higher. Then the comb will keep you up a little higher on the gun. Fits me fairly well. I can get straight down the rib without too many problems on it, but of course everybody's individual fit is different. So there it is, the two guns we were shooting in the last video, and what I like and don't like about this gun at its price point. And generally it's a pretty darn good gun for introduction into a clay shooting or a recreational shooter. If you just want to take it out like I do, throw the clay pigeon thrower out and toss a few in the air, great gun for that. So we'll move on to some other shotguns, and stay tuned. Thanks for watching.